Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. I am Jharana and today I want to talk about Shaktas. What is it to be a Shakta? Who are Shaktas? What is their paradigm? Is it a spiritual path? Why would one call oneself a Shakta, which I do at present time? What does it mean to walk in this path? What is a view? Why view is so important? Is the reality that we live in stagnant? Is the reality out there? Withholding a view of a Shakta, does it really lead to freedom? There are various aspects to a spiritual path, and it's really important to have a clarity of your own path and what do you really belong to? Where do you really belong to? What is your svabhava, your inherent nature, and then why is it important to walk on a particular path? So these are a few very important aspects that I find it very, very crucial before one really chooses to walk in a spiritual path. However, I did not come to my path knowing all these, and I think that's absolutely okay as well. But nevertheless, at a certain point in your spiritual path, it's very important to know oneself and know what your goal is and know where you're heading. And that what makes the path very authentic and very grounded as well. So I would love to shine some light on this with the blessings of my gurus and all the knowledge that I have received. And I really hope that there's some good takeaway for you from this episode. So who are the Shaktas? Shaktas are the people who hold a particular view of this world, of this life, that then eventually helps them to gain freedom, a state of freedom. Now, what is a view? View is a way of seeing. View is a perception that we hold to see this world. Why it is important? It is important because view is that which defines our reality, and that reality hence creates an experience. So it's a loop in a way that our view equals to a perception, and perception equals to reality. So as we hold a view can also be explained as a conditioning. As our conditioning is, so is our experience, so is our belief system. So the view is very, very important. So that's where the spiritual system actually targets. That's where they strike. So the view is actually what creates your reality. Your current state of view is actually given by your family and your society. If the current view is adequate for you to gain a state of freedom, good enough. You don't really need to go to any social system or associate yourself with any spiritual system. And that's how we used to live in our tribal ancient culture. We were inherently very connected with the nature. We followed the rhythm of nature. We were part of the nature, and hence we didn't really have any system. But as the time went by, and then as the deterioration happened, and as we fell out of our state of peace, let's say, then all these spiritual systems sort of were created and organized so that we can go back to our inherent nature. So the view is given to us by our society, by our family. They teach us how to see this world. We derive meaning of everything from our conditioning, So that is also where we create our belief system, and our identity is created through this process of knowing this world by holding a particular view. And this view is held by different ethnic groups and cultures, like, okay, I'm a Newar, or I am a Brahmin, or I am a Kshatriya, or I am, ABCD, you call it. So the different culture would hold a different view, and they give meaning to a different thing in the world, and hence they create their own reality. So the reality is actually based on the view you hold and the meaning that you give to this life, which also means that there is no existing external reality out there. We actually are responsible to create the external reality. And that which also means that it's in flux. It's a fluid reality. It's not something out there pre-existing us. stagnant. No, it is something that we give rise to. We have the capacity to give rise to it. We have the power to create our own reality. It can be reconditioned, reprogrammed, and further be lived. So the spiritual system, all the spiritual system acknowledges this, and it's the fact, you know. First thing is that this view that we hold creates a reality. Reality is not something external, pre-existing us. Reality is something that we create with the hold and the belief system that we hold. And that itself is the start of a freedom, knowing that we are swatantra by itself to choose a particular view and then to condition our own body and mind system to create a reality, to live that reality, which then would lead us to a state of freedom. Who are the Shaktas? So Shaktas are the people who hold the view of the world. They choose to see everything as energy. So they are Shaktas. It's very simple. They choose to hold a perception that everything in this world, from sukshma to stula, from the subtlest to the grossest, from the micro to the macro, from the small to the big, everything in the world, in the existence, is energy, is Shakti. They are Shaktas. Who sees this world as energy is Shaktas. It's as simple as this. It's a system. It's a systematic way of conditioning this body and mind to hold that view, to live that particular perceptual reality with time. Because conditioning, like as we are today, is a product of our conditioning, of our family and society with certain beliefs. It's the same way that when you enter to any kind of a spiritual system and the spiritual system holds a particular view, that your pre-existing conditioning then has to be reconditioned to then to hold another view of this world. So this form of perception is not just a philosophy. This kind of a perception is literally cultivated. It is a process of reconditioning. This systematic reconditioning is done by various medium, which would include books, shastras. We use our voice, chanting. We use our voice through mantras. There's a deep science behind mantra shastras. We then use yantra, a device, to create certain perceptual field. We use the medium of a visualization, which is also huge part of our consciousness. Consciousness in the sense that the field of consciousness also include the aspect of imagination and visualization, which we usually discard as not being real. We use that field tremendously. And then we also use these aspects, then further cultivate the faculty of devotion, the faculty of shraddha, admiration, the faculty of surrendering, samarpan. So we cultivate these qualities in the perceptual field, depending on the view, depending on the perception. We cultivate further these qualities. So even really proceeding further from here, even the summary of whatever that I am able to express shows that the reality is not out there. Reality is not pre-existing. It is fluid in nature. It is something that we can create by ourselves. It actually puts us in a position of great power when we actually realize this. The reason that it appears that our reality is solid and stagnant is because we were never taught this fact, that our perception actually is the one that creates the reality. This was never been taught. Also, there's a huge amount of fear factor, because if we don't really have external reality, if we don't hold a perception, and if we are to dismantle our perception, then the huge amount of fear really actually arises, and we are not really taught how to stand, how to really be a sovereign, how to really be in our self, the capital S. The self is never really shown to us. So the spiritual system is also, the Shakta is also, or probably I really am not really familiar with other system because I am more a Shakta. So the Shaktas basically teach one of the core principle of the system is to really come to the higher self, with capital S, how to claim that self without really not depending upon the conditions, and you actually command the condition. So this is one of an amazing aspect of Shaktas that I discovered, and then I prosper in. So now coming back to the Shaktas paradigm, the Shaktas who choose to see this world as a dynamic energy, a Shakti. So we see this energy as this dynamic principle that is existing from Sukshma to Brihat, from the subtlest to the grossest. We see everything as dynamic principle, this dynamic energy that has this ability to do and be everything at the same time. Now, does this view actually leads to freedom? Can you really hold on to only the view to then reach to the state of freedom? Well, we actually say that the view that you hold is rather the ignition point, the starting point toward the goal, which is a freedom. It itself is not capable of taking you to the free state, but rather perception is something that is a substrate, that is something that helps you to purify. Now, some of us might not agree with the word purification. I'm okay with not some of us not agreeing to that word, but purification, I see it as an alignment, the energetic alignment, because if we choose to see everything as an energy, then we need to bring that energy into coherence. We need to bring that in alignment, because only when everything is seen as one, then all the energy is actually coming to one alignment. And another amazing part of this is like, you are actually sovereign of this. You have this capacity to create that. It's not pre-existing, as I said earlier. When we choose to see everything as one, everything as that one dynamic principle of Shakti, of energy, then everything sort of becomes very coherent. Everything has the same sound, everything has the same rhythm. Then that is actually bringing this whole body and mind system into an alignment. That is what purification actually means, that it's not misaligned. Our body and mind system doesn't have a different rhythm. It is in sync with the same rhythm, and that is what purification really means. Now, what we do is we then use that purified state is then stepped upon to move further, to move further into the transformational journey of cultivation of various aspects. As I said earlier, cultivation of the heart field, the cultivation of Shraddha, cultivation of surrender. These are not, most of the time when I really talk about these faculties of Shraddha, Samarpan, which is basically surrendering and admiration and a devotion, these aspects a lot of people have problem with, because they sort of they resist it, because it hits their ego, their limited self, and they feel like, oh, why should I develop an aspect of surrendering to something that I don't even know, So that is something that has to be worked upon. But what I would like to say here is that these are the faculties. One has to see them as the quality, which then is used. These are also energy as you really come. This is the paradigm that you need to see everything as an energy. So this bhava of samarpan, this bhava of surrendering, the bhava of shraddha, admiration, the bhava of devotion, these are also energies, So if you really unpack the word, what you really come across is the energy system, the energy field, the field of devotion, the energetic field of shraddha, the energetic field of Samarpan. These are the field which are then used. We put them together as an alchemy. Then you become an alchemist. You use this within your own body and mind system to cultivate those energetic field, and then you bring those together as like an alchemist to then further generate something else out of it. And that's where the transformation actually happened on the energetic level in this body and mind system. And the Shaktas do that. We see this, we choose to see everything as something that is beyond word, beyond the veil of Matrika Shaktis. And then we directly get in touch with the energetic resonance that is hiding under the sounds, under the shabda, under the vowels. And then we get in touch with the core of the field, the energy field, and then we transmute that further to bring about something else, and that itself is a ritual. That's what the ritual is so important to Shaktas, like Shaivas, to all the Tantra system. The rituals are very, very crucial for transformation, because it's the language of transformation. We bring together different elements, we bring together different energy, then to further make something else, just like how we make tea. To making a tea is a ritual. You burn a fire, you put the water, you put the tea, add milk, you wait for a while for it to boil, you add sugar, and only then you use a sieve and the tea is ready. It's a ritual. Everything in the world is a ritual if you really look at it from that perspective. Heading a little bit further from being an alchemist, little bit touch upon the philosophy, which might look like a philosophy. The whole thing might look like a philosophy, but it is actually not when you actually walk on the path. This is not a philosophy to read. This is something that we do every day in terms of sadhana. That's where the sadhana comes. That's where reading the shastras come. That's why integrating those shastras come, and living that reality actually comes, and hence we become Shaktas. So another part of a little bit of a philosophical aspect, we might call it, of Shaktas, is that we choose to see the reality of who we really are. We see it as tattvas. There's 36 tattvas in Sankhya philosophy, which we also abide by. So the elements that we are actually made of 36 tattvas, we see the whole 36 tattvas as a paradigm of Shakti. Everything in that 36 tattva paradigm is energy. We don't see any of them, none of them, as static field. Everything is a dynamic principle. Now, this entirety of this energy field then has a substrate. We are that, we are the 36 tattvas. Actually, this is not just a diagram that we showed. This is the whole, this is us. The 36 tattva is us. This is a dynamic principle. But we inherently have the substrate that we call it Shiva, which is static. The static principle is Shiva that we see, and the dynamic principle is Shakti, like we see. So the Shiva and Shakti is one principle for Shaktas. We don't see Shiva as something different from Shakti at all. We see both is same and one, performing, being, and existing at the same time, every millisecond, every microsecond of the moment. In every pulse, Shiva and Shakti is there. So we see them as one, so close. They're Sanghatta, we call it, right? They're so close together that you can never separate it, They're always in Sambhoga, we call it, So they're always in together, and they're always in bliss and ecstasy, So this principle, because the Shakti is our ability to actually see, is Shakti itself. We call it a Vimarsha. So the ability to see that this is happening, the ability to see itself is Shakti, we call it. So Shakti is not different from Shiva, because if there's no Shakti, the Shiva cannot exist. And if there's no Shiva, the Shakti cannot exist. So they are one principle. The Shaktas basically just lean toward Shakti principle more, because we choose to live this dynamic principle, but it cannot exist without the stable principle that supports the Shakti to prosper. That's what we call life. This whole life is basically the principle of Shakti, the dynamic energy that we live. We ourselves is Shakti. And when we say Shakti, we don't really mean, it's not gender bias. It's both male and a female. We see it as Shakti. Both masculine and feminine principle is Shakti. But the both masculine and feminine principle on which it prospers, the stability underneath that which holds this both principle, is Shiva. That's how we see it. But of course, being in the female body is more aligned with the rhythm of nature. It's more in the flow. It's more sensitive. It's more connected. It has its pros, but nevertheless, both is the Shakti principle. And So yes, we basically see this whole cosmic energy as a Shakti principle. And we choose to dissolve our limited sense of self to this dynamic energetic principle. We choose to dissolve our sense of limited self to this bigger self, which is Chaitanya, which is Swatantra Shakti. She herself is Swatantra. She is the sovereign. She has this capacity to be all and none at the same time. This entire universe as one single dynamic principle in which the Shiva and Shakti both merges, the static energy and the dynamic principle on it, to see this dynamism and live this life through it, because we believe in living this life to its fullest and have this ability to embody that principle. And I find that absolutely brilliant and beautiful. And so we call this singularity Chaitanya. We call this singular Chaitanya Shakti Parasamvit. We call this an absolute dynamic principle. We call this energy something that can reveal, something that can become, and something that can conceal. So it has this power to do all, and power to be all and none at the same time. And we call this a Swatantra Shakti. We call this the very life that we live, the very capacity for us to do, the very desires that we have is hers. The spontaneity that we have is hers. The very heart that we cultivate is hers. And we see her in everything as her, and we merge in her, and she is the heart of the Prakasha. Prakasha is this light that we hold, and she is the heart of the Prakasha. She is that which makes Prakasha, the seeing that there is a light, that very seeing itself, the Vimarsha is her. So we venerate that, this creative force that we have, this desire that we have, the Ichcha Shakti that we have, that Ichcha Shakti is her, and we venerate that within ourselves. And she's the reflexivity principle. She's the reason that we can reflect. She is the capacity. She is this very capacity of being, and we also call her Swadhin Adhikari. She is the one who is sovereign. She is the Swadhin. She has the Swadhinta, and she's the Adhikari. She's the ruler of this entire existence, and she is the ruler of this material and non-material as well. And so from that perspective, we are a complete, radical, non-dualist. So we are the one who abide in non-dual principle. And this dynamic energy, this dynamic principle of existence itself is what we call Brahman. So Brahman is not Jada for us, The very acknowledgement of the existence of Brahman itself is Shakti for us. So she's also a Vishwa Utirna, and she's also a Vishwamai. She's just everything, So this is the view that we transform into, that by the end of it, we hold this heart field for the entire existence. Like we just open our heart to this entire existence as her, and that's where we develop our heart. We venerate, we surrender to, and we fall in love with. And I'm an absolute in love with her, and that's what Shaktas are. We are Devi Bhaktas. That's what we call Shaktis, we call Devis. Shakti is basically Devi. It's the divine dynamic principle that is Shakta. So I hope you enjoyed listening to the Shakta paradigm, and I definitely enjoyed sharing this because it's very dear to me, and this is what I fell in love with amongst all the other system. I am absolutely in love with the energy principle, and I find it worth giving my heart to, if I call it mine, if I may call it mine. So I found it worth surrendering my heart toward and cultivating further and transforming this limited sense of self to merging into a bigger sense of self. And I enjoy living my life through this paradigm. And I welcome anyone who would have further inquiries. They can email me or connect with me through social media to dive deeper. And I really hope to bring forth many aspects of Shaktas, how we see it, what is our main text, why do we, stick to a certain paradigm, or the depth of the Shakta paradigm. And there are various aspects to any spiritual system, because it basically, as I said, conditions your mind and body. So it has its depth and it has its aspects and it has its nuisance, and everything is in there. And I would love to bring forth more of such aspects. And yes, if you love the video, please do subscribe, and I hope to see you soon.